Hello. So we're going to do another how to explain overexplained video today. Gonna run our usual just neutral scaling style opener stuff that's just like gives you value but doesn't take you in any directions. That's like Scorch. How Scorch gives you stuff that makes you want to go towards burn with the burn slot, etc. So we're just gonna run this. We've done pretty much nearly every pack now. All we're really lacking is Arcane, Crystal, and Frosty. So we're gonna try and get one of these three going. Um, and we'll see how we go from there. Hopefully we can get Arcane, because Arcane's a pretty simple one to get going. I really like Arcane Mace openers as well for Arcane, so we'll just do that. That's pretty good. Arcane Mace is very strong. When you get it to 2-star, it can actually be a focus for your build as well. Same as Void Spike. Like, they're generally pretty good early game items. Like, you can just see the DPS here. Like, this is someone who leveled, and the combat only took 28 seconds. It's pretty good. So we're just going to level here. There's nothing here that we want. We could freeze for the goblet, which I think we are actually going to do that. So that way we can pick it up on day 3, and then we can look for day 4, pairing off the mace and stuff like that for our epic. Plus it then gives us a little bit of gold scaling and stuff as well, which will help us with picking up Arcane Orb when we find it. Take our Healing Touch, and take our Goblet and level. So, yeah. All in all, pretty good opener so far. Ideally with Arcane, you can either do like this with the Arcane Maces, then you slot in like a Void Spike or something. This is unfortunate. This is going to beat us up because of the bleed. But yeah, you can do something like this, and then you slot like a Void Spike or something like that for the just scaling damage of Void Spike with your Arcane stuff going on. Or you could do like your general 15 cost opener and get like some early like novice blades, etc., and pair them off in day 3 and get some sort of direction like that. We're going to take our Traveler's Stock for our rerolls, and now we can look for stuff. So we got our nice Arcane Orb plus Simple Curse here. This is one of the nice setups I like for Arcane, actually. So what we could do here is this, and this is the beauty of us doing that Goblet now, is that we can actually afford this. We have rerolls, but I don't really want to spend them. We could roll a little bit and set up to pair off the Arcane Mace. So like this. There we go, and then just not spend any more. And now, basically, the crux of Arcane is it's playing all around these debuffs. Like, you can see, like, this Arcane Orb is giving a bunch of debuffs. And you either basically kill enemies with the debuffs themselves, or you scale something because of the debuffs. So you got stuff like Void Stingers and Void Spikes, which gain damage every time you apply a debuff. You got Simple Curses that, for every debuff Simple Curses has, gives you potions and vials and stuff, which is very nice. And then okay, pair off our mace. Don't really want anything here. Elvish Orb can be fine if we manage to get like an Elvish Essence or something. But really, I don't care for any of this. We're going to take the Bulwark though, the Blazing Ball, and just have it here, because we're going to be applying a little bit of burn via mace and Simple Curses, so this is just going to give us some passive survivability. Now, when it comes to the potions that I get from Simple Curses, this could also pivot into like a Witch Run, for example, because like Simple Curses exists. I tend to like to just throw them back on the thing that's like generating the potions, because I want to get this cooldown reduced so it generates more potions. So it just makes sense to give this like the shielding and stuff, right? Because then this is going to be triggering more frequently when the cooldown's reduced than say like Arcane Mace or Blazing Ball would be. Like in the moment though, giving this the shield stuff makes more sense, right? But long term, I want to reduce the Simple Curses cooldown, so it just makes sense to give the cooldown stuff to Simple Curses. Gonna sell the ball here? No, because it makes us too short. I wanted to get Nature's Call to put above this. It's unfortunate. I guess we just freeze and we take the call next turn. Yeah, like that's the way I think about the potions and stuff like that when it comes to funneling, is like less of what is currently the fastest and more of like what is going to be my focus item for the build, and then just give them the potions because like they're gonna make the best use of it in the long term. So like here, for example, this doesn't do much for us, so we're just going to take the Still Potion option. We've got Witch Tag, which is unfortunate. There's not many things that interact with a Witch Tag per se, outside of like Candle and things like that. But we do have a big Shield Potion here, and we have the Cooldown Vial. I value the Cooldown Vial a little bit more, because it just means we're going to get more out of the Simple Curses this way. Get all our money back with this. We're short by 3. Actually just going to sell out the ball at this point and just level. Get our chest. No Dreamcatcher, it's very unfortunate, but we do have a Runic Shield. Runic Shield is quite nice as well. We can take our experience. Don't really care for pairing off the orb all that much. If we wanted to apply a lot of debuffs, I would, but really I just use Arcane Orb as a way to get the debuffs on the target, necessarily getting a lot of debuffs on the target. When it comes to items like Runic Shield and Arcane Mace, though, for example, it's like when you get them to 2-star, they give themselves debuffs as well. So it's like it's less important to spend so much gold upgrading your orbs for like Arcane Orb and stuff, just to put like debuffs onto something. But again, we're gonna do this. Kind of want a Dreamcatcher, so I kind of want to roll once we're around 5, because we have decent epic odds still. Okay, we got another Runic Shield. When it comes to playing Arcane builds, though, there's a lot of paths you can go. And they're all quite powerful. It's kind of why I think Arcane's like the best pack in the game, because there's like a lot of paths to success with Arcane. And when you have a lot of variety in a pack, while still having like good damage in the packs, I think that is very strong, because obviously that means adaptability. You're not always looking for the same combo over and over and over and over. I want both of these, but it's kind of expensive. I think now I'm going to shift this like this and start using the Nature's Call to have this shoot and give us more generation. And I want to pair this off, but I also need a level. And the only way that we can level right now is if we sell this mace, and I'm going to. Actually, I'll do this for a round. Put this in, give it some debuffs so this can start generating as well, and then when these pair off, it'll just give them both debuffs, so it's fine. Arguably, I should have put the Nature's Core above the Orb, so that way this gets the debuffs faster as well. But, as you can tell, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. Cool. We'll take a Life Surge just to cap us at 10 again. We'll go damage potions back onto the Simple Curses. Could pick up the Witch's Belt, the Potion's Belt here, but it doesn't really make all that much impact for us right now. But we are definitely leveling, so we're level 7. We've got 3 rerolls still. Soul Splitter, this is huge for us. Soul Splitter is very powerful in Arcane. Arguably one of the best items, and there is also a NyQuil here, which I'm going to freeze for. So if you want the most powerful Arcane build outside of like just having insane potion overload from Simple Curses, it's probably going to be Soul Splitter. Like Soul Splitter stacked up with debuffs with a NyQuil means this thing will get to trigger cap, which is 10 times a second. And since it has 2.6 cooldown, you would need 26 multicast for this to be trigger capped. By doing so, like it's quite easy to get it to that point via NyQuils. Or just like leveling it up as well. This thing is going to apply the debuffs the quickest outside of a 1 second, like a 1 second Runic Shield. Arguably would do it faster because obviously it's going to give itself debuffs as it's doing it as well. But in this current form, like it is right now, Soul Splitter will end up being the better item. So I should have taken out the Runic Shield, put the Nature's Call above the Arcane Orb to give this debuffs faster. But it's okay. Potions. We're probably fine here anyway. We just do so much debuff damage that it doesn't matter. Okay, now we get a free NyQuil. So here I'm going to take out the Runic Shield. We're going to put all the potions onto Soul Splitter now, because this is our carry item. We're going to put in the NyQuil, take out this Runic Shield, put in another NyQuil. So this thing is now going to be trigger capped. Because it has... Oh, it's missing poison, so it might not be trigger capped. Yeah, it's 1 away. But it's like so close, it's like a very minor pause. It now has poison. Pair off our Simple Curses. They just call onto the Simple Curses. Put all the shields and stuff onto the Soul Splitter. Don't really need a Lost Fragment. Sell the book. We don't need this in, because it's going to get trigger cap just from this one NyQuil alone. It's another orb. We don't need an orb. Another Simple Curses. 2 Pandoras. This game is trolling me when it comes to Pandoras. We have a bunch of cheap rerolls as well because of the Simple Curses. Okay, we're out of money. It's unfortunate. But yeah, the power of Soul Splitter is super powerful, and I will try to cover it better in the collections tab part of the run. Because right now, I can't really explain it because of just how explosive this has actually been in terms of power growth. Potions of Appearance, we're going to put this onto the Soul... Actually, I'll go into Endless a little bit with this as well, so I can explain more. It won't go far, though, because, well, Dark is disabled. But we can see how far we can take it. Log. Alright, we'll freeze for the Soul Splitter. You can see, like, times 49 because of the NyQuil, it's trigger cap. Like, eventually we could just drop this NyQuil. Because we don't need it. Like, we just need one more of these. We need this. We can sell the night quills because we don't need them now that it's 2-star. Oh, I should have kept one of them actually. So I should have kept one of them because when you get this to 2-star, it starts getting bonus damage based on the amount of unique debuffs it has. And now when it says unique, this doesn't mean like having 3 stacks of poison will equal 15. This means the difference between having 1 poison and 150 poison on the soul split will still only be plus 5 damage. It needs to be poison, burn, shock, and bleed. Each of those are considered a unique debuff, so you need to be able to have like every single debuff type onto Soul Splitter, and then you'll gain bonus damage per unique debuff. And then when you get to 3-star, it becomes permanent plus 15 damage per unique debuff. So Soul Splitter is super powerful if you ever get it to 2-star and higher. That's why I wanted to keep at least the 1 Night Quill, so that way this was gaining more damage, not necessarily the multicast. But we do need to find one more simple curses real quick. So hopefully we can do that. There it is. And now there's another Soul Splitter. We can sell them out because we don't need another one. And do this. Now we could talk about kind of like synergies, I guess, since we're at this point. What would be the best synergies with an Arcane pack? So Arcane really boils down to apply as many debuffs as possible, as fast as possible via your items. So aka Soul Splitter, Runic Shield, Arcane Mace, like these are all really good ways of doing it. Void Stinger, really, really good ways of doing it. And then you use those fast applications to buff up, well, Void Stinger or a Void Spike. If we see a Void Stinger, I could point it out. But another good synergy, because of the way that Arcane functions, we don't need 2 Runic Shields because we have Soul Splitter doing the job of the Runic Shield now. Because of the way Arcane functions, we're applying bleed very, very quickly due to Soul Splitter, so that it pairs perfectly with Crystal. Taking Shard Fang and pairing it with a Soul Splitter is a super powerful combo because this is going to apply bleed very, very fast, which is then going to trigger the Shard Fang, and it's going to constantly start dealing that bleed damage. And if you look on the right side here when I'm hovering over, enemies take bleed extra damage when hit by items. So if you get this combo online really early into a ranked run, this is going to carry like a lot of the days. Like this will by itself win a lot of days for you. If we can find a Void Stinger, they become basically the holy trifecta of Arcane scaling. So here, for example, we're going to sell out this and put it in. This would be my equivalent of a perfect Arcane board to end your run with. Would be a Soul Splitter, doesn't matter if it's rank 1 or 2, or 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, etc. You just want it on. If it's got no stars on it, then you might need a Night Quill on instead of like this orb up here. You'd put a Night Quill, so that way this can get to its trigger cap faster. Outside of that, in this state where it's 2-star, this is going to be trigger capped because it's going to have so much multicast. It's going to apply debuffs very, very quickly, triggering the Shard Fang to do that bleed damage, but also because it's applying debuffs very, very quickly, it's going to buff up this Void Stinger like super fast. So if we go into a run now, hopefully this guy's not too quick and blows us up. Okay, this is a pretty big book. But you can see just how fast this Void Stinger starts to scale. Like, it's very, very crazy. And then you can see up here the damage of Shard Fang, dealing that bleed damage. Like, it does a lot of bleed damage. It did more than the Soul Splitter itself, for example. Same as this Shard Fang down here. You don't really need to star up the Shard Fangs, but I'm going to do it anyway, just because of the fact we're going to have the money to do so. I'm going to cool down the Soul Splitter just so it activates sooner. Still going to give it all the crit and stuff as well. And then we're going to hopefully find Void Stingers and stuff. If you plan to go into Endless, of course, make sure to have Dark enabled. If you're planning to play Arcane in Endless, definitely have Dark enabled. That way you can try to Dark Essence stuff and then put a Dark Orb in, just so you don't get beaten in the start of combat priority. So like here, for example, it just like ramps up so much damage. And then if you ever manage to get your Void... If you ever manage to get your Void Stinger to 2-star, sorry, 3-star, it will start applying debuffs to itself as well. So it gets super powerful. But this thing can get out of control really fast. I'm going to keep buffing up our Soul Splitter. I saw the Night Quill, but it's okay. Okay, we got everything paired off now. There's another Shard Fang. Why not? Sapphire Amulet wouldn't be a terrible idea since we're applying so much crit to the Soul Splitter. But we're running into a Witch build. It barely beat us whilst having so much health. Yeah, the simple curses plus Night Bloom combos are also super powerful for Witch. Cool. Let's Sapphire Amulet in because we are critting. Freeze for our Void Stingers. Okay, keep buffing up like this. And the simple cast isn't necessary. Like this, if you can get this as your final board, like as soon as possible, this would be the ideal without this. Like it's just these 3 items. So the idea is that you want to find Arcade Orb super early, buff up either a Soul Splitter or a Runic Shield. Get Runic Shield to 2 stars as fast as possible, or a Soul Splitter to 2 stars as fast as possible. Put in a Void Stinger, and then put in your Shard Fang, so that way you can like have them constantly loop on each other for feedback of just scaling. And then you're super happy. But yeah, it's not super necessary. I want to do this though, because then we can get rid of this. This is going to buff these 2 and this, and then when we find the third one, pair. Oh, no, I would just pair off now. Sure, more Shard Fangs is always welcome. Oh, I messed up the priority. I should have bought this and this first. So that way we can get the gold and then buy the value potions. This could probably make it to day 23. We have so many lives left over. It's like it's unrealistic that we just get blown up so many times in a row by dark builds. Well, Midas Diary is perfect. We can slot that instead of the Sapphire for now, and now these Shard Fangs are also going to earn us money. Yeah, basically, if you can get this as early as possible with the Arcane Orb activating this, you're going to earn a lot of money. And then you throw in the Void Stinger, you're doing a lot of damage. And then because you will have all that money, you could do basically whatever you want. Sell this. And you don't ever need to put in multiple Void Stingers, multiple Soul Splitters. Because one is going to do the job of many. Like, look how much money we earned up here just from 2 Midas Diaries. This cooldown capture? Nope. Trying to find more Midas Diaries so that way we have income. Because Dex says something in his video, which I kind of agree with. Like, if you have no economy coming into Endless, you're pretty much screwed. You need the economy to basically force the dark builds that are super strong later. So you kind of want to get that online as early as possible. I guess we can start working towards our next Shard Fang. Because if we have a lot of money, then we can find Crown Forges, and then we could just restart everything, right? So we'll for a little bit of health. Yeah, look at that money. It's beautiful. Alright, so this needs 6, so bam, bam, and then we'll speed up this. And I know I'm using money to buy those chests instead of these value potions, but I'm kind of saving the value potions for Crown Forges. Should have picked up the goblets. Alright, we have a bunch of income now from those. Since we don't have dark, we need the cooldown is super important. We basically just guarantee that we lose the dark orb though. Oof. That's a painful Twilight's Edge. The Dusk Shield was pretty clutch there for them. Alright, cool. Build's done. Let's now think about transitioning this somehow, yeah? So, look at this Void Stinger's damage already, though. 6,000. Doesn't have any crit, though. So, we gotta keep an eye on that. That's a Crown Forge. Do this. Soul Splitter. Do this. Under that. Then I think this one goes on to the Void Stinger. Upgrading these aren't too important, that's why I put 2 of them in, for example, and then upgrading these doesn't actually do all too much either, so... Okay, well, that was unfortunate. No Dark Orb, so there's a chance we can win here, but that's a big Batwing. Yeah, we just blow them up so fast. Cool, day 23. Mimic Rod doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, unfortunate. Which, everything's 1 second, so we just die. Put bleed onto the Shard Fang, sure. Since it's 2-star, it can actually gain bleed. Close. We just need a little bit more damage on this Void Stinger. We'll put on this one, sure. Okay, sell out this. Nothing great. Yeah, we... This is a big Void Stinger, huh? Guess we should technically buy all of this and start wrapping our luck up. Garnet, not really. Look for presents, really. Almost day 30 with no real build right now for Endless. Okay, so nothing here does much for us. Yeah, nothing here does much for us, unfortunately. There's a Crown Forge. This one. Now we apply a lot of bleed. Is that 1 second? That is 1 second. That's kind of scary. That's a lot of burn. Yeah, that's a lot of... But that's a scary, scary Blazable. Okay, let's go to the Oak. But yeah, this is the crux of Arcane. It's very, very simple in nature. It's literally all about these debuffs. Getting as many of them as possible on the target. Preferably, if you're playing like pure Arcane Crystal like this, you don't care for Shock all that much, you just care for these 3. But Arcane can pair with Shock really well as well. And, yeah, like, just look at that. 19.64, 19.64, 19.03, and then this would have done a lot more if we could get more multicast on it. But go over to the collection. Let's talk about Arcane. Arcane is super powerful. Arcane Cleaver's not as good as it used to be. It's just a little bit slow, and other things can kind of do what it does now, but like with faster pacing. So to go from the start and work our way towards the end. Void Spike, really good. It's basically your common equivalent of Void Stinger. You get this early game with, say, the Hex Slot perk, which we could have ran. Like, if I wanted to force Arcane, I would definitely run the Hex Slot perk. But, Void Spike's really good. It gains 2 damage per every time you put a debuff on the enemy tower. 4 damage when you get it to 1-star, and then 8 damage when you get it to 2-star. If you get it to 3-star, it gets permanent damage, which is why I'm saying it's basically the common equivalent of Void Stinger. It's a very good candidate for doing merge, if you do merge strategies. It's also a spear, so it's pretty good for econ when it comes to just buying a cheap spear, throwing it underneath Conjure Spear, and gaining economy through generation of chests. And then you have Arcane Mace, which is super powerful right now, because it's bugged. It's going to get fixed soon, so probably by the time this video comes out, it's probably fixed, actually. But if not, then you can kind of try and abuse it if you want. But you want to get the cooldown reduction on this as fast as possible, because it's a little bit slow, 3.2, but it applies 3 burn and 1 shock. When you get it to 1-star, it's 6 burn, 2 shock, and does 20 damage per swing, so not great. But when you get it to 2-star, it permanently gains a random debuff. This is where the bug comes in. Currently, in the current form of the game, when it's at 2-star, the permanent random debuff it gives itself can never be shock, so it'll always give itself poison, bleed, and burn. which is super powerful for consistency and the three best debuffs in the game when you're not playing a storm-related build. So the fact that this completely ignores shock whilst buffing itself currently in the 2-star form makes it super powerful. If you get the cooldown reduction on it and you get it to 2-star super early, this thing will have like hundreds and hundreds of debuffs on itself by the time you finish the run. Super good, super good. Arcane Cleaver, again, is just a slower version of Arcane Mace. It's not that great. It is an axe, so it is a good candidate for stuff like wood chopping, though, for example. But it does give you bleed instead of shock, which is super nice for Void Spike. But that's basically all this would be used for, is like your day 4 or 5 area. It's gonna, like, day 1 through 5, it'll be used for simply buffing up your Void Spike, and then you're probably gonna sell out of it in favor for one of the better options. I'm never really going to pick this up from the shop unless it's in my very first shop next to a Void Spike. I'm not going to like go out my way for an Arcane Cleaver. And I know it can be powerful because as you level this up, it basically becomes like the Arcane Mace. Apart from this can still give itself shock, so it loses out in favor in that sense. And then the 3-star version is the exact same as well. So it's basically just Arcane Mace, but slower. That's why I don't like Arcane Cleaver. Simple curses, as you saw in that run, I never really pick this up unless I already have an Arcane Orb, or I see an Arcane Orb in the shop with Simple Curses, or I have a perk that, like, say, Scorch, Toxic, or Electric, for example, that gives me a tower debuff, because that way I could, like, just put this in there to generate potions, and you could use those potions to fuel your other items. As soon as you get this to 2-star, it starts giving you vials, which is far better than the lesser potions. Because vials are, I've said this in a previous video, are these things. And it will generate any of these vials, which are all super useful and super powerful. Apart from Morphile, it will never generate Morphile. I'm not quite sure if that's meant to happen, but it's really good that it doesn't, because Morphile is really bad. Like, it just re-rolls an item, basically. So the fact that you can always get health scaling, always get healing, always get debuffs, always get shields, etc. The cooldown reduction vials are super strong. The free rerolls are super strong. And then, like, obviously money and experience are super strong as well. Like, the fact that you can get all of these makes it super good for, like, funneling into, like, say, your Soul Splitter, or funneling into your Void Stingers, or your Void Spikes, etc. So getting this online early is preferable, and then you want to get a cooldown reduction, because 5 seconds is a very long time. But the generation rate of Simple Curses is pretty, like, nothing generates potions faster, really, once you get it going at 1 second with multicast. Because it just, each debuff you have active on Simple Curses just increases the generation rate by quite a lot. And then when you get it a 3-star, it generates potions, which means it can generate stuff like your Crown Forges and your big level ups and stuff like that. Wild Magic didn't really get to showcase it in that run, but I like this item. Wild Magic is actually pretty good. You don't really use it for its effect in terms of it's going to give me a win condition. You get it from a chest, or you get it whilst it's on sale, and you just put it on your board early into the run, and you start feeding it cheap 15 cost items like, say, Bone Club, or Novice Blade, or Regular Bow, and it can turn those items into any item in the game that's, like, it's able to turn into. If you have Dark disabled, for example, it won't give you a Dark item. But by it doing that, you can turn these items that only cost you 15 cost into, say, something like Doom Guide, which then sells for like 30 gold. You're just making a net positive by feeding it cheap and then selling the strong. Or it could just generate you something super powerful early, like say you get this day free, and you feed it a Novice Blade, then you go into combat and suddenly it gives you a Pandora's box. Instead of it being 20 seconds for that first trigger, it's suddenly only going to be the 2.6 seconds of what the Novice Blade was, because it counts the current cooldown when it rolls the item. So it'll trigger once for like the 2.6 seconds from Novice Blade, but then it'll go back to 20 seconds. It's not going to make every trigger 2.6 seconds, but it's super strong for that reason. Same thing as if it goes into, like, say, a Doom Guide. It'll, like, roll the Novice Blade, it'll turn into a Doom Guide, and this Doom Guide will activate in 2.6 seconds for its first trigger instead of the 18 seconds, and you'll just one-shot the enemy tower instantly on day 3. Like, Wild Magic is super good for that reason. I don't think it's as good as it once was. It's definitely a shadow of its former self. I wouldn't really invest too much into getting it started up anymore. I simply would just use it for the economy reason that I mentioned a second ago. If it just so happens to generate you one of your core pieces, like it turns into like an Arcane Orb, or it turns into a Void Stinger, then that's super cool. but that's not the reason why you would use Wild Magic currently, because it's just too much RNG dependent on that part. Runic Shield is arguably, in my opinion, the best arcane item. The fact it's epic and could show super early, it has a lot of tempo value, does a lot of damage, is literally build defining by itself, it synergizes with a lot of different things. Its base version doesn't have bleed, so it's unfortunate in that sense, but it applies a lot of damage via the debuffs, has multicast, gives shield value, it's great. And then as you start leveling it up, it just doubles those effects, and then you get it to 2-star, and it starts buffing itself with random debuffs, and this is where it becomes super strong. The moment this gives itself bleed, it becomes insane. You find a way of giving this damage in any way possible via, say, a damage slot, or one of the encounters that can give damage to an item via, like, say, a potion, or exaltation from Bishop, for example, which gives 15 damage to all items. Then this thing can trigger the bleed that it's applying from itself. Plus, it's going to be applying bleed, so then it becomes a great target for things like Shardfang synergies, like you saw at the end there with the Soul Splitter. This can basically do the job of the Soul Splitter if you don't get a Soul Splitter online. You just have to try and get this to 2-star, which can be kind of difficult at times, but it's also nice because the fact you have many avenues of causing that sort of loop that you did with the Soul Splitter plus Shardfang combo, because you can do the same thing of it applies bleed from itself, but because it's a shield, it's now also triggering Warrior Shield. So it's got a lot of synergy properties within itself, and then the fact that it also applies burn super quick means it works really well with stuff like Staff of Zeus and like your burn synergies. Flare, for example, could ramp it up early game. Like, this thing's tempo value for being 45 gold is extremely good. You can feed it with an Arcane Orb as well, which is okay, but it's not necessary. I'd much rather just get this to 2-star as fast as possible, and then just kind of laugh as it starts soloing boards. But outside of that, it's also a good candidate for buffing up Void Stinger, and since it has multicast already, it's good for, like, Void Spike as well, and, like, you can chunk people down quite easily with that with an early game Void Spike. Getting a Runic Shield on day 3 or 4 for me, for example, I instantly will snatch this, and it's going to be like, okay, I can just level up and get to level 7 as fast as possible, so I can try and get these other pieces online as soon as possible. Arcane Orb is just an engine item. It's really hard to really talk about engine items, because it's just dependent on what you're putting the engine on. But if you put the Arcane Orb on top of a Soul Splitter, for example, get this online, as you saw in that run, this thing goes crazy, completely buffs the heck out of, like, Void Stingers and Void Spikes, triggers Shardfang super fast. Give it a Shield Potion, for example. It can also do the Warrior Shield combo. It's just a really strong item. Put it on simple curses, then you've got some potion generation. You can even put it on the Void Spike itself, so this then starts applying debuffs, and then it really is just a common Void Stinger. Yeah, Arcane Orb's really good. Probably one of the better orbs in terms of the engine pieces. Soul Splitter, as you saw in that run, probably next to Runic Shield being one of the strongest arcane items in the game. It can be self-defining as a build. It could be an engine piece in itself as well as a build, by being the thing that activates your Shardfang, by being the thing that activates your Void Stinger scaling, Void Spike scaling. It could apply burn super quick as well, so you can use it in conjunction with stuff like Staff of Zeus to burn towers down. You could use it in conjunction with, like, Shock Package as well to, like, shoot out Skybolt super fast with Staff of Zeus plus Skybolt, which means then this will also be triggering the bleed damage. You can put a Shield Potion on it, activate Warrior Shield super fast. Like, it's just a really strong item, and it's only a 2.6 second cooldown. Arguably, if bow carry you see this needs nerfing. Not in its stats, like, not in the sense of, like, how much multicast it's getting or how much bonus damage it gets or anything like that. I generally just think instead of being 2.6 seconds, it should be 3 seconds. Just because of the fact that it activates so fast whilst doing so much multicast and applying debuffs so fast. Like, it's, like, compare it to, like, Runic Shield 3.3 to 2.6, whilst this is doing damage and also, like, scaling damage as well. It's super fast. There needs to be some reason why you would want to Dreamcatcher this the moment you see it. Because in its base form, it's like you're only really doing that just because there's a chance someone else has, like, Dreamcatchered their item to 1 second. But if we live in a world where no one has Dreamcatchered their items, Soul Splitter is just too strong. Void Stinger, super powerful. You can actually do builds as well where you basically don't need the rest of this kit. And all you do is you put Void Stinger on the board, and you just, like, they just call it with a Lost Fragment. and this thing goes crazy. It was actually a popular build in the demo, and it's still pretty strong right now as well, where you just have two of these next to each other, and then you just have Nature's Call and Voids and Lost Fragments above and below both of them, and they just kind of like interact with each other by like buffing each other from applying the debuffs, and you just bonk people's towers down super fast. It's still a possibility to do that, but it's just a little bit more efficient and easier if you go like with the Runic Shield into the Void Stinger, kind of like curve line. But yeah, like Void Stinger is self-sufficient, doesn't need the rest of the package, but gets stronger by utilizing the rest of the package. In terms of mainlining and what I would consider like the builds for Arcane, it would really be like the whole tempoing with your 15 costs, picking up an early Runic Shield or Arcane Orb, using those to buff up either a simple Curses or a Runic Shield in itself, pivoting that into a Soul Splitter, and then picking up your Void Stinger plus Shardfang combo, and then using these three as like the Holy Trifecta, or using these three as the Holy Trifecta, and like that would be the main line. But then you have the alternate paths, kind of like what you saw me doing in that run, where you go like the Arcane Orb onto like the simple Curses, generate potions, buff up the simple Curses in itself, get its cooldown reduced, and use it as a way of like generating potions and buffing itself, and then using those debuffs to like buff up your Void Stinger. Or you can just rush a 2-star Arcane Mace, give it a bunch of cooldown and multicast, and just have this thing go crazy too. One of the other build paths would be early Void Spike from the Hex slot or Merge package, etc. Conjure Spirit so you can get it to 3-star or 2-star as fast as possible, give it some crit, give it some cooldown, put an Arcane Orb above it, and have this thing go crazy. But yeah, like, all in all, it's basically find a way to apply debuffs fast, buff up either a Void Stinger or buff up a Void Spike. Pair that with, say, a Shardfang later, and just go crazy. Either way, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.